Hello everyone, welcome back to another Star Wars Destiny video. Today, Fantasy Flight released a bunch more spoilers for Spirit of Rebellion, most of these being in Hero Red. There's a couple neutrals as well. We're going to start off here with Baze Malbus, Crackshot, 11 health, so pretty high health, either 14 or 18 points if you want to run him at a single die or at Elite for 2. 2 range damage, 3 range damage for a resource, plus 2 range damage, resource, special, and blank. Special is deal 1 damage to each of an opponent's characters. I really like his damage side, so he essentially has 4 of them. The 2 normal damage sides, one that has to be paid for a resource, the modified side, and the special. Special, again, doing 1 damage to each of an opponent's characters, so it will probably work well against like 3 or 4 character decks as well. And you could also like cunning into his special if you pair him with like a yellow character like a higher gun or something. His points are pretty high, so he's not going to pair like at elite with a whole lot of other people. You can pair him with Ray, but then at that point you'd be splitting damage between melee and range. He might go well with maybe like a rebel trooper. You're not going to be able to get let's see, it'd be 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. Be 25 points with a single Rebel Trooper. That would probably keep him alive a little bit longer with if you're using Guardian to resolve dice on the Rebel Trooper. But I like his health. He's got pretty high health and a lot of damage. Imagine him if you slapped on Overkill on him. It's pretty thematic because he's on the art of that card as well. So that's just a bunch of modified damage, and then on his own card he has 2 damage sides that are unmodified as well. And if you were running it with, let's say, a blue character, you get access to Awakening. So if you rolled his modified side and a modified side on Overkill, you can use Awakening to resolve one of those modified sides as if it wasn't modified. So that could go well on him as well, especially if you have Overkill on him. We're going to move into our next card. And next up, we have Mon Mothma, Skilled Politician, 9 health, 11 or 14 points if you want to run a single die or 2. A lot of focus, so 1 focus, 2 focus, 1 shield, 1 resource, another resource, and a blank. And after you play an event, you may re-roll a die of the same color as that event. That's pretty cool. So if you run her with other, like let's say like red yellow, you play a yellow event, you can re-roll a yellow die. You play a red event, you get a re-roll a red. If you play a blue event, you get a re-roll a blue die. That is a pretty cool ability, especially if you like let's say have a hired gun and you roll out hired gun and cunning or something like that, and then you play a yellow event. You can then um, re-roll one of those dice if you played like a yellow event. I like that it's dependent on color as well, so it's not just re-roll after you play an event, it's re-roll a die of that color. That's pretty interesting. 9 health, so kind of low, but a lot of the, like key figureheads in the military set are kind of low, so like Akbar's pretty low, Mon Mothma's low as well. But 14 points, so there's quite a few possibilities. You can pair her with Leia. She might work well with Leia because Leia has good range damage, so I believe Leia's 16. So if you went Elite Leia, Elite Mon Mothma, you'd be at 30. So you have a lot of focus, so you can focus into Leia's damage, especially like we're talking about Overkill again. If you put Overkill on Leia and you're able to use, let's say you rolled Mon Mothma on both focus sides. So 2 dice, you rolled a single focus and a double focus. You can triple focus into a bunch of damage from Leia, which would be pretty cool. So that's Mon Mothma. We're going to move into our next card. Next up, we have the Rebel Commando, another red non-unique. 10 health, 10 cost, 10 points, 1 range damage, 2 range damage, discard, resource, special for a resource, and blank. And the special is remove an opponent's die. So the special is kind of cool. I'm not sure why the special has a resource cost associated with it. I know there's a couple other specials that have resources that go with it. And I know Thermal Detonator has a regular special and then a special that you have to pay for. I'm not sure why this one has that resource cost, but you roll the special, resolve it, remove an opponent's die. It doesn't matter what it is. Doesn't have to be a certain value or lower. If they're showing like a really good die, you have a special, resolve that, get rid of their really good die. Kind of like this is kind of like the hero counterpart to the Death Trooper. I mean, obviously less range damage than the Death Trooper, but also Death Trooper has 10 health and is 10 points. Rebel Commando, 10 health, 10 points. We're going to move into our next card. Next up, we have C-3PO. He's a support. One resource, one focus, one discard, resource, and I believe he has double blanks, so 2 blanks. As an action, remove this die to resolve one of your dice as if it were showing a different symbol. It keeps its original value. So let's say you really need range damage on something and you rolled out a 2 resource side. You can remove C-3PO's die to resolve that 2 as whatever you want. So you can make it 2 mil, you can make it 2 melee damage, 2 range damage, kind of whatever you need in the situation. This is really cool. Imagine this paired up with something like Launch Bay. So you roll Launch Bay, and you roll it on shields. You don't need shields. So your next turn, you remove C-3PO, and you make that Launch Bay range damage. You do range damage equal to your hand size, and it's basically just remove C-3PO, resolve another die as if it were showing a different symbol, and the value is the same as what the die was showing. So this could be pretty cool, especially if you rolled it onto something that has like a imagine um, rolling like a diplomatic immunity or something like that on like 3. You can resolve diplomatic immunity and make it something else. Make it disrupt, make it whatever. I think in a red-yellow mill deck with diplomatic immunity to keep your characters alive, C-3PO would be really cool because you could say, let's say you have diplomatic immunity on Padme. Roll Padme out with diplomatic immunity, and it rolls shields. It's a shield generating card essentially. So let's say you already have enough shields on Padme and your other character, you can remove C-3PO to make that 3 shield side a 3 mill side and just mill a bunch of cards. So C-3PO is going to be really cool. I'm looking, if I make a mill deck, I'm probably going to try to include C-3PO. I'm considering making like Jin Akbar. This will go well in that deck because I can make whatever sides of my dice mill sides in that situation. So that's C-3PO. We're going to move into our next card. Next up, we have Overkill. We talked a little bit about this card when the Spirit of the Rebellion preview event was announced. So, Red Hero upgrade. It's an ability. 2 resources, all modified damage. So, +1, +2, +3, +3, and 2 blanks. So you throw this on, like I said, Leia. You throw it on Baze. You throw it on anybody that does range damage, and now this is going to modify all that range damage. Even if you roll this and it rolls, let's say you roll a blank on the character and you roll +2 on this. Again, if you're playing in red blue, you can use Awakening and still resolve this for whatever side it's on. So that's Overkill. We're going to move into our next card. Next up, we have R2-D2, another support. 2 resources, 1 melee damage, 1 focus, 1 disrupt, 1 resource, and 2 specials. No blanks on R2-D2. Special is resolve 1 of your dice, increasing its value by 1. So essentially, he kind of becomes like a natural talent. So you resolve his special, and if you have a 2 melee damage sides showing on something else, it increases it to 3 melee. He's essentially like a Swiss Army knife of what you can do with him. So he can do damage, he can focus, he can disrupt, he can get resources. Only thing he can't do is get shields, but if you resolve his special on a shield die, you'll be able to get 1 extra shield out of that as well. So R2-D2 is going to be pretty cool. I especially like being able to cunning into him, resolve a die, increasing that, and then also cunning into him again. If you only have him out and that your opponents have no cards with specials, you can just resolve 2 dice at that point. You resolve the special on Cunning, and let's say you have the special on R2 showing, so Cunning, trigger R2 special that way, increasing another die by 1, and then you resolve R2 special as well, increasing another die by 1. So that's R2-D2. We're going to move into our next card. Next up, we have Rocket Launcher. It's a legendary red neutral. 3 resources, and this is all resource costed damage. So 3 range damage for a resource, 3 range damage for a resource, 4 range damage for a resource, and special for a resource with 2 blanks. and has two options for special. So discard a vehicle from play or deal 2 damage each to up to 2 different characters. I really like the first special, so you can get around Hyperloop with this. So let's say you had this out, then you play Tactical Mastery, you rolled it, say you rolled the special. You can then, with your second action from Tactical Mastery, resolve it, destroying the Millennium Falcon. I like that it gets rid of vehicles because there's a lot of new vehicles in this set. So there's the U-Wing, the Command Shuttle, and a few more, as well as the vehicles like TIE Fighters and Millennium Falcons from Awakenings. So this is a really cool way to kind of deal with them. You do have to have a resource to actually trigger that special, though. So if you don't have the resource and you roll it, if you're playing against Hyperloop, your opponents will, of course, just Hyperloop away. But nice way to get rid of Hyperloop, and also if your opponents have no vehicles out, you can deal 2 damage to up to 2 different characters, which is pretty cool as well. So we're going to move into our next card. We're moving into our events now. So we have first up Emergency Evacuation, Red Hero. 4 resources, remove all dice. So if you have like a really bad roll and your opponents are sitting on like a ton of damage or just a really good roll, you can pay your 4 resources, play this, and remove all your dice. You're removing all your bad dice to remove all of your good dice, or just like all the dice get removed. So that could be pretty cool, especially it's like a way to prevent them from resolving. Let's say like they have all their dice on ranged damage, or just waiting to get to resolve it. You can play this and remove all of their dice and all your dice. So one other thing you can do with this, I think, is play this on Premonitions. So you play Premonitions, play this face down on it, and you kind of just wait for the perfect moment to when you want to play it. And then if you get your second copy of Premonitions, you play Emergency Evacuation, which was face down, and you remove all the dice. So you can kind of just wait to see if it's. You need to wait until you get your second copy of Premonitions, and then you're going to want to wait until the right moment to when you're going to want to remove all of your opponent's dice. Because with the Premonitions, you get to play it for free. If you have a second copy of this, it's cost 4, so it's kind of expensive, but it does a lot by removing all the dice that are like in the pool. We're going to move into our next card. Next up, we have Friendly Fire. Again, red hero event. 2 resources. Spot a red character and remove an opponent's die showing ranged damage to deal that damage to a character. So this is kind of essentially like a red version of Deflect. I think it costs a little bit more. I think it costs 1 resource more than Deflect. But it does more damage because Deflect does the value halved. So if you remove a 2 ranged die with Deflect, it only does 1 damage. With Friendly Fire, you're dealing the full amount of that die. So if they rolled a 3, pay 2 resources, remove their 3 damage to deal 3 damage to one of their characters. So that could be pretty cool. I think it's going to fit into like a lot of like survival decks or like control decks where you're removing dice and you're also doing damage with them as well. So that is Friendly Fire. We're going to move into our next card. Next we have Guerrilla Warfare. 0 cost, 0 resources. Has ambush, you can take a second action after it. Remove one of your red dice to deal 1 damage to a character. I like that this has ambush. So let's say you have a blank and a bunch of ranged damage. And let's say that ranged damage is just 1 shy of defeating a character. What you can do is you can remove, let's say you have a blank or a resource or a shield, something you're not going to use. Remove that, deal 1 damage to your opponent's character. Then with ambush, just resolve the rest of your damage. So if you were 1 short, you deal 1, and then you deal your full amount, which should now be enough to defeat your character because you did 1 with Guerrilla Warfare. So nice way to defeat a character. Deal 1 with this, and then resolve all of your damage at once with the ambush ability. We're gonna move into our next card. Next, we have Planetary Uprising. This is a support, so 2 resources. After you claim the battlefield, force an opponent to deal 2 damage to their characters distributed as they wish. So this is kind of going to be like a situational support. You're not going to run this in every deck. You're probably not going to run this in decks where you're not consistently claiming the battlefield. I think this card would go well in my Poe Dameron and Maz Kanata deck because with their abilities, you're rolling Maz, resolving stuff really fast, and you're very consistently claiming the battlefield. So in that case, I would put this in that deck because every time I claim the battlefield, I get the battlefield effect of whatever the battlefield is. Plus, with Planetary Uprising, you're dealing 2 damage to their characters as well. Again, I wouldn't run this in something like, let's say, like a 3 or 4 character deck where you're rolling stuff out kind of slowly because it's just going to take up a spot in your deck. It's going to take up resources, and you might not ever get to use it if you're playing a slower deck. This is going to basically fit into aggro decks where you're rolling characters, resolving stuff very fast. While your opponents are still doing stuff, you're then going to claim the battlefield, have Planetary Uprising trigger, as well as getting the effect of the battlefield. So that's Planetary Uprising. We're going to move into our next card. And the final card revealed today was Training. 2 resources, neutral red event, non-unique red character only. The attached character is now elite. Place a second copy of its die on its card. So you pay 2 resources, and your non-unique character, your red non-unique character, gets an extra die. So essentially, they become stronger. This is going to work well in, again, like decks that are running pretty much essentially non-unique. So like Stormtrooper decks, decks with Rebel Troopers, things like that. You're going to be able to, when you roll that character now, you're going to be able to roll 2 dice instead of just 1. So character still has the same health, so it's basically just like they become an elite version of what they were before. This is going to make a lot of my Rebel Trooper and Stormtrooper dice more useful because currently I'm running a 3 Stormtrooper deck with a Tusken Raider, so I can run this in there and use some more of those dice. I might use it with Rebel Troopers because I think I have like 7 of them in my collection, and I actually haven't used a single Rebel Trooper in any deck yet. This will also work well with Luminara. So we talked about her a couple of days ago, where her special is can increase a value of the die by 2 or by 3 if it's on a non-unique character, and then you resolve that die. So if you roll a 1 range damage and you use her special on a non-unique, it'll become 4 range damage. And then if you have training on them, you can, you know, roll her, resolve one of the dice, remove it from your pool, roll the special again, and resolve that other die at that increased value. So this is a cool way to basically make your non-unique stronger. I really like that it's neutral. It would be kind of broken if they only made it for hero, because it looks like the guy in the card has the rebel tattoo on his arm there. So that is Training. That's the final card they revealed today. I'm going to be going to a Star Wars Destiny preview event tomorrow afternoon. I'll be doing a video on like what I pulled, what I got, as well as just like a wrap up on like how the event went, like what decks I played, things like that. So remember to like, comment, share, and subscribe. We'll be back tomorrow night with that wrap up video on the preview event. I want to thank you again for watching, and until next time, take care and have a good one.